This is the Patriots Catch-22 podcast with Evan Lazar and Alex Barth.
I'm Evan Lazar. Evan Lazar. Hello, everybody. Nailed it. Joined as always by our Barth. That's a fit. That's a match. No risk it, no biscuit.
22.
Here is Evan Lazar and Alex Barth.
Morgan Moses, though, and there was a lot of talk about his age when they signed him. He plays. And he'll tough through it, and he'll play hurt. He didn't miss after his rookie year. He didn't miss a game until 2023, and then he's missed 3 games each of the last 2 years. That's pretty solid for a tackle to play 28 games over the span of 2 years. You hope this isn't one of the you don't want him to miss any games, but this especially you hope isn't a game that he misses. But he's not somebody I worry about being like, I don't want to risk it this week. No, I think if he can go, he'll go. If he can get out there on Sunday, he seems like the kind of guy that will get out there on Sunday.
All right, well, I was pretty surprised that he wasn't even on the injury report on Friday.
Yeah,
he toughed it out, played pretty well against TJ Watt. We'll get to all of that. But it's Evan Lazar, it's Alex Barth, it's Alex Behind the Glass, Patriots Catch-22, with you for the next couple of hours here, breaking down the loss to the Steelers, breaking down the game against the Carolina Panthers on Sunday. So a lot to talk about in Patriot land. Here for the next couple of hours, next couple of days in the lead up to this game on Sunday. Week 4 already. We're moving a little bit now. So here we go. And I want to start with an opening take, and then I wanted to do this segment at the beginning of the season, and it totally escaped me. So we're gonna do the good, the bad, and the crap that gets you beat. I don't think we're allowed to swear, so I'm just gonna
coach can say it. That's it.
I'm gonna say crap or stuff.
Just say stuff.
Yeah,
It sounds closer.
So the stuff that gets you beat, and those are the 3 buckets that Mike Vrabel breaks down games into to the team. So we're gonna do our version of that here on the show. Probably doesn't really work if they win. So maybe this is something that we
we could have absolutely done it last week with Miami.
But
I think we totally could have done last week with Miami.
Would have gotten you beat, didn't get you beat.
But it almost did. But here's his thing.
You didn't lose.
Right. But here's his thing is it's buckets and it's limiting. You can do things that will get you beat and still, like, as long as it's outweighed by the other stuff, you'll be okay.
I think you can do the bad. I don't think you can consistently do the things that get you
Not
beat.
Consistently, but like
we'll get to it.
No, I think the Miami game is the perfect example of the things that get you beat.
Thing. We'll get to it. I think the opening take that I wanted to give, and then we're going to get to that exercise here in a second. I understand completely, Alex, that people are done with the moral victories. They don't want any more moral victories. They want to see results, and I totally feel that. We have watched really 3 years of bad football in this region going back to 2022. And there were times in 2022 where it was okay, but let's face it, it's really been 3 full seasons of bad football. And it's just the moral victories are getting hollow. Like, they're getting old. Like, we want to see real progression. And I get that. But at the same time, and, you know, as we start to segue into the good, because I want to start on a positive note. When we start to segue into the good here, at the same time, there is a lot of good of what they did in this game on Sunday that gets completely wiped out by the 5 turnovers. If they don't turn the ball over 5 times in this game, I truly feel like they probably win this game going away. Like, I think they might have won this game by double digits if they don't turn it over 5 times. So that being said, like, I understand people don't like the moral victories, but I would not come here and tell you guys that the film, and I'm specifically talking about the offense, I wouldn't tell you that the offense is encouraging if it wasn't encouraging. Like, after week 1, I was not telling you that the offense was encouraging. These last 2 weeks offensively has been a lot better. Like, some really good football and good scheme and good execution on the field offensively that has me overall big picture encouraged about the team. And I know that they need to win some games, and I know it's getting old, but if they play offense like this moving forward, and I of course, without the turnovers, they play offense like this moving forward, they are going to start scoring some points. They're going to start scoring. And of course, if you score, then you win and all that good stuff.
So let me recharacterize it. You want to say it's not a moral victory. Fine. It's both it's an encouraging game and a frustrating game at the same time. which it can be hard to kind of, how do you compartmentalize that? Because you're frustrated that they lost, first and foremost, but they did a lot of good things in that game, and not just good things. They did things that they haven't done. They did things that we've been waiting to see them to do, and that's encouraging. And then you just get even more frustrated because, they did all that, and I still can't enjoy it because they lost. So it's like everybody has a right to feel frustrated after that. I think you can be both frustrated and encouraged.
100%.
And I know that kind of sounds a little weird, and it's funny to talk about it this way because we have this argument mainly off the air in different contexts all the time. That's basically, how do you weigh what looks good on tape versus the ultimate results? You draw up a bunch of fun looking plays, but you lose 28-0. You would be inclined to enjoy that. Whereas I would say, no, that's not a well done game because you lost. This might kind of be the middle ground of that, where it's ultimately not the result you want. It's ultimately not a successful game in my mind. I would not call that game a success.
No,
because they lost it. But I don't know. This sounds way too simplistic for this show, but you're not going to turn the ball over 5 times every game. You're just not going to do that. And a lot of the things they did around it were winning football.
Yeah.
So it's just, and we're supposed to do the deeper dive on the show, and obviously we will. But so I when I sit down with David Andrews on Monday, the first thing he says is, we could do this show in 30 seconds. Don't turn the ball over 5 times. That's the take. That's obviously the big take coming away from the show. But they did so much around it that you like. I'll give you a stat, Evan. So I decided to have some fun after the game on Pro Football Reference, as I'm one to do. And, all right, how many limits can I put in this thing? So teams that, and some of these are under what the Patriots did, but I was trying to just use kind of round numbers here. Outgain the opponent by at least 150 yards. Outsnap the opponent by at least 20 plays on offense. Convert at least 45% of your third downs. At least 75% of your fourth downs. Punt 1 or fewer times.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good, you do all that, you had a pretty good game.
Right.
Right? Teams that did that since the merger, 37-2.
Yeah.
And now 37-3 with the Patriots. And just the odd thing I'll throw in there because it's weird. The last such game of that was in 2012. It was Cowboys-Ravens. The Cowboys lost. The last such game of that was a loss. The Cowboys somehow only turned the ball over once in that game and lost despite all that. But the point being, you play that game most of the time, you're going to win. And obviously there are things they can do to limit the turnovers. But if they're turning the ball over 5 times, there's such... the indicators would be there. They're not that team.
Right.
We just don't believe they're not going to be a team that's has the fewest turnovers in the league. They're probably going to have more than the average team. But man, you're just not going to turn the ball over 5 times a game. And the things they did around that on both sides of the ball were very encouraging.
Okay. So that's a good way to kind of segue here, because we're going to get to the turnovers and the crap that gets you beat, right? We're going to get there. Don't worry, people. We're going to talk about it. But with the good, I want to start with the good. I think the most encouraging thing from a good standpoint, and I guess these things kind of go hand in hand, but the overall offensive scheme from Josh McDaniels and game planning over the last 2 weeks, coupled with how good I think Drake Maye looks on the whole through the last 2 games, let's call it. I don't know if it was as good on either front. In the Raiders game, it wasn't. But over the last couple of weeks, I've just been extremely encouraged by what Josh McDaniels has started to put together scheme-wise. The things that really stand out to me, number one, the under center mechanics and their ability to move the pocket has really paid dividends for them and has really settled Drake down into some of these games. I would say, last week against the Steelers, that 15-yard boot run that he had in the second quarter, that kind of got them going, and that got him started in this game. They're right around 10% of the time that they move the pocket, design rollouts at this point. That's 10th highest in the league, but it's right up there with the Niners, the Vikings, the Rams, the Packers, teams that move the pocket on a regular basis. So they're moving the pocket on these bootleg plays about as often as all these West Coast Shanahan style teams are doing at this point. That's catering to your quarterback. That's about Drake. That's about getting his mobility, him out into space and cutting the field in half and using his legs as an advantage against the defense. That's catering to your quarterback. The other thing that, and you know me, I'm big on this, their motion rate has increased exponentially over the last couple of weeks. They were the lowest motion team in the league in week 1 at around 17%.
Yeah.
The last 2 weeks are up at 63% in the motion rate. So they've really flipped that. They've gotten much more motion heavy. They haven't been as stagnant offensively pre-snap. They're motioning at the snap a little bit more. They're shifting more before the ball is snapped as well. So they're doing a lot more window dressing, and they're dressing up plays more, and they're scheming receivers open a lot more as a result. This film against Pittsburgh, and I would say the same thing about the film against the Dolphins, there's open receivers all over the place on this film. Like they really did a nice job in this game of getting guys open and scheming guys open. And McDaniels has done an awesome job of just using the weapons that they do have. Because let's face it, their receiver core, it's still not there yet. They still don't really have a number one guy. They still don't really have a field stretcher that's vertically making the defense respect them vertically. And Josh McDaniels with running backs, tight ends, and like a little bit of receiver production is basically milking every last ounce of leverage against the defense that he can possibly find. Like they are really running this offense through the backs and the tight ends. And the one formation that I think really consistently points to that is that split back formation where they have one of the tight ends and a running back next to Drake in the shotgun. They ran that formation about a dozen times on Sunday, and they got some really big plays out of it. 18-yard wheel route to Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry's second touchdown on the 4th and 2 play came out of 12 personnel out of shotgun with the Austin Hooper with him in the backfield. There was another 15-yard completion out of that, and just all the different possibilities that you can scheme up out of that one formation with Drake in the gun and the two guys next to him, one tight end, one running back, and then of course 2 tight ends on the field total. How are teams going to match that? Are they going to match it in base, and then you have safeties and linebackers covering tight ends and receivers, and you can win those matchups? Or are they going to cover it in nickel, and maybe you can run the ball against their lighter nickel packages? That's the chess match that they're having right now with opposing defenses that all starts with formation and personnel. So that's really all McDaniels. Like that's a schematic thing from Josh McDaniels. And I just look at what they're doing now, and I love it. The only hesitation that I have about it is weeks, 8 through 17, our team's going to start to figure them out because do they have, I guess a better way to put it, do they have an off-speed pitch? Like, do they have a changeup? Do they have a secondary pitch that once a team start to see what they're doing out of 12 personnel and the base plays that they're running out of 12 personnel, do they now have complementary plays built off of those plays to kind of protect the base stuff? Because the base stuff is really good, but these D coordinators are really smart, and they're going to figure it out eventually.
That's something Josh has always been great at. Is his offense does not look the same in September as it does in December. Never has, and I'm not gonna say never will. We'll see, but like, isn't that where you start to get into you're running some of the same stuff, but you're running it with different players, so it looks differently, right? So let's say you're running out of 12 and you have Kayshon Boutte and Matt Collins as your 2 receivers, right? You run the same play, but it's Stephon Diggs and Kyle Williams as the 2. Like, you inherently have to defend that differently. So maybe that's the change up because there are still some guys, still haven't seen a ton from Kyle Williams. I still think there's more they can do with Stephon Diggs. He's been out there a lot, but I still think there's some untapped there, and they're probably trying to let him get his legs back under him after the injury last year. TreVeyon Henderson, we'll get to TreVeyon Henderson. TreVeyon Henderson has been involved a lot, but I think he can be involved very differently. So there's that element of it. Maybe that's the changeup is just the personnel groupings as much as it is the schematic stuff.
Yeah, and they already kind of did some different things, like the wheel route to Hunter Henry is Henry in the backfield running the wheel. the touchdown to Hunter Henry on 4th down later on the game, it was Hooper that was in the backfield and it was Henry that was the inline tight end. So they've already started to do some different things in terms of just where guys are in those formations. But when you, again, like getting back to catering this thing to Drake Maye, that is the under center and the boots and the moving pockets, the shotgun, split back stuff, the motion, the window dressing. Like, this was not stuff that Josh McDaniels was doing a ton in his past stops, like whether it was here with Brady and Mac Jones or in Vegas with the Raiders. So like when I hear things, not to get like soapboxy here for a second, but like when I hear things like, oh, this is the Josh McDaniels offense, like this isn't the Josh McDaniels offense. Like, this does not look to me the last 2 weeks like the Josh McDaniels offense. And this isn't to like bring up some like divide in there where like there's West Coast guys, and that's not where I'm going. I'm not going to your station.
No,
I'm going that McDaniels has adapted and changed this scheme and his system to fit Drake Maye.
This is what we talked about when they hired him, when everybody was freaking out about, oh, it's going to be too much, and they asked Brady do all. What did we say?
Yeah,
it's a limited sample size, but he's generally done a good job of taking what because his core concepts are still there.
Yes.
Like the core concepts he believes in are still there.
The drop back game is similar.
Right.
The run game and I'd say the run game and some of the drop back games pretty different, but like you still see, their traditional drop back game where they're running Haas juke and doing all this. I would also say,
and the way he's using the run and the pass and the play action to play off each other and all of that, some of the more meta stuff is the same, because this is what he did it for Cam Newton. He did it for Mac Jones. Like this was my take of time. He tailored the offense to Mac Jones to a fault to him, because he got this kind of screen merchant label.
Right.
And then what happened the next year when they had Mac Jones throwing the ball down the field? Like that's maybe what they needed to do. So this is what Josh McDaniels does.
I mean, I'm sorry. I just under center speed option on 4th and 1. Like I haven't seen Josh McDaniels run that with Mac Jones or Tom Brady. Like that. But
he wasn't going to run it with
Well,
Mac
I know,
Jones
but I'm just
Brady.
saying, like this is catering to your quarterback.
He ran it with Cam, I think.
I don't know about under
4th and 1, but
I don't know about under
No,
center.
they ran. I remember they ran one or two old school options that year.
Maybe.
I don't think it might not have been 4th and 1, but they ran it.
I don't remember them, but maybe. The point being is just like, this is catering to your quarterback.
Yeah.
And when week 1, when I had all that frustration, is because they weren't doing these types of things. Now I'm seeing them do these types of things. Some of the different gun, split back stuff really has me excited. Like they missed it, but like, they have a spinner series now where Drake Maye kind of spins around on the play action fake from the gun, which is really popular nowadays. The Bills, the Ravens, like teams like that have a lot of
the Eagles do good. Right?
A lot of gun in their offense, like a lot of shotgun, are doing what's called a spinner fake, where like the quarterback literally spins and turns his back to the defense in the gun and spins all, does a 180 and comes back around. And they had, Pop Douglas wide open in the flat on one of those spinner plays. And like when you just look at the play concept itself, it's great design. Like they have the running back on the wheel, and they have Pop, on the swing in the flat. Then they have Matt Collins running like a deep in cut in the middle of the field. And you just look at all the different openings of where this could present open receivers. They covered the wheel pretty well, but Matt Collins was open in the middle of the field and Pop was wide open in the flat. And they just kind of couldn't connect, which we'll get to here as well. But all these different schematic things, it's like you said, a few minutes ago about me, like, this is the stuff that gets me hot and bothered.
Right.
Now, they only scored 14 points.
Right. So now let's
so
now it's got to translate to winning. That's the next step.
But this is the kind of stuff that gets me hot and bothered, because when you get process oriented and you're not just thinking closed-mindedly about the results and you're process oriented, like if you keep doing these types of things, then this is going to lead to good offense and this is going to lead to more points. They just need to get better.
It has to.
Like they need to execute better. Like they need to get better at what they're doing. The other good thing that I came out of this game that I wanted to talk about, and I know that this is a little like, how is the play, Mrs. Lincoln? I get it. But like Drake Maye sands the turnovers. Like Drake Maye right now, and I get that there's also a small sample size / strength of schedule element to this as well. But from an efficiency standpoint, he's like a top 10 quarterback in the league right now, which I don't care if they're playing the Raiders, Dolphins, and Steelers, they were not being this good, top 10 efficiency in the last couple of years. That's still a huge improvement from where they were at.
Let's put this qualifier on all of it. It's not having good games against these lesser teams is not the end goal, but they weren't even doing this. So it's a step forward, and it's not all going to happen at once. You got to take these step forwards. Also, just relatively speaking, there's a lot of bad teams in the NFL. So maybe not everybody's played the Ravens, Steelers, and Dolphins, but who's played any of the NFC South's played each other. That division sucks.
Yeah.
So
that's sort of my point.
Playing bad teams.
Is it goes back to Vrabel's thing. Can you take advantage of bad football? And that baseline of being able to take advantage of bad football, that probably beats 10 out of the 32 teams in the league every week just by not being as bad as the other team. And the last 2 years offensively, they weren't even good enough to take advantage of bad football. Now I'm starting to see Drake Maye be good enough to do that and good enough to elevate things. We can go individual throw. You can go big picture in terms of his efficiency, and all the metrics just love Drake Maye right now. He's 8th in EPA per play. He's 3rd in EPA per play in obvious passing situations. It's Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Drake Maye. That's what we're talking about here. In obvious, expected pass situations. He's 1st in the league in late down EPA, 3rd and 4th down. So he is the best 3rd and 4th down quarterback in the NFL through 3 weeks. That doesn't just happen by accident. That's not strength of schedule. That's not opponent based. That is the quarterback making plays.
He's played. Can we do this game? He's played 5 really good halves of football in 6 halves.
Yeah.
Of the season.
Okay.
He's
I'll give you that.
Played because my whole thing with him, is consistency.
Yeah.
Outside of that second half of the Raiders, I think it's been because I don't think those numbers are inflated by one specific game or one specific drive. I think for the most part, he's just kind of been this guy. It's just that second half against the Raiders.
Yeah.
Besides that, he's been pretty consistent, which is encouraging.
Yeah, the throws that stood out to me, I'm sure similar to everybody else. The deep dig to Booty on 3rd down was a really good throw.
They got to work that in more. That was rolling in the first half of the Raiders game. We haven't really seen it since.
Yeah, really good eye manipulation there to look off the zone and then come back to the middle of the field there. And that's not a pea shooter throw either. You have to have some ability to drive the football. That's a 15-20 yard zone window that you're driving the ball into. The wheel route to Hunter Henry is just a perfect, that's a touch throw, where he just kind of throws it with a great touch and just enough air air under it to get it there before the safety, but just enough touch to kind of get it over the linebacker there. Just a really perfect
the one up the
throw.
Seam to Henry. Was that, I think, to set up at the end of the half? He had one up the seam to Henry down in the red zone, not the touchdown. Oh, that was a wheel. Okay.
Yeah, wheel. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm talking about. And then he also had 5 runs for first downs in this game. So you're just seeing all of it. You're seeing the scrambling ability, you're seeing the arm talent and the ability from the pocket. I know that you can't just wipe away all the turnovers, and we're going to get to the turnovers, but overall, I just think we need to look at this as a developmental thing with Drake Maye, and it's not going to be linear where every play is going to be perfect. And if you look at it from the totality of the 3 games that he has played, there's really no metric that you can look at that doesn't call him a top 15, top 10-ish quarterback in the NFL through 3 weeks. So that's extremely encouraging. The last thing here on the good side, and then we'll get to some of the not so good. I thought they adjusted really well defensively in this game. Didn't think they started too hot, which we'll get to. But they, after the first 2 drives, especially after that opening drive, they adjusted pretty quickly to the run game for the Steelers, and they really shut down the run game from that point on in that game. And I think the in-game adjustments defensively, it's taken maybe a little bit longer in other games. This one was pretty quick, right around that after that second drive by the Steelers, second touchdown drive. They kind of clamped down from there. But I also just really liked, and this will kind of come back up later, the accountability on defense. And it's no shot at these 2 guys, but benching Christian Ellis and Alex Austin and just saying this is not good enough and putting other guys out there and giving, Gibbons and Charles Woods an opportunity. I just like that. Like at some point they have to start taking the guys that are playing bad football off the field. Like you can't just keep on doing the same thing, which I think the last couple of staffs might not have had the depth on the roster to like have something different to go to. But I also didn't really feel like they were really very accountable in that regard. So in-game adjustments for the defense, I thought were good. And then you hold I keep saying the Packers because of Rodgers. You hold the Steelers to I think it was 1 first down on 5 possessions in the middle quarters. Like that's pretty.
How many yards they allowed in the third quarter?
I think it was like 1, wasn't it?
1.
Yeah.
I mean that's just good football right there.
Yeah.
And I know the Steelers aren't who they were and Rodgers isn't who they were, but it's a lot of bad teams that get more than 1 yard in the third quarter.
Yeah. So that was the goods for me. If there's anything off the top of your head you wanted to add, then we can add to the goods if you want. But I feel like those were the
I get
highlights.
you hit on a lot of it, just adjusting defensively and yeah.
Okay, let's go to the bads.
Is this ups and downs, or are we gonna do that separately?
We're doing that separately.
Okay.
This is big picture. I'm not
Okay.
other than Drake. I'm trying not to be too player specific with these.
All right.
Because Drake is a big picture at the end of the day.
Yeah.
The bads. So let's start here. Defensively, I did not like this game plan for them defensively, and they got down 14-0, kind of as a result of the game plan. They came out in 2 high safety, and not only did they come out in 2 high safety, they came out in 3-corner nickel. So they came out in basically pass personnel defensively. They had the 2 high safeties up top, which you do to keep a lid on the defense, right, to avoid any big plays over your head. And then obviously with the 3 corners out there and 5 defensive backs total, you're lighter in the box there with the nickel defender, basically playing in the box. And the Steelers in Jalen Warren just ran right down their throats, especially on the opening drive. 6 out of the 8 plays were run plays. They ran it right down the Patriots' throats. Now the Patriots adjusted. That was on the good, right? I talked about that. But I didn't really love how they came out in this game. And when you come out with a bad plan on defense, you go down 14-0, and that's just not a way to live in the NFL. You can't be putting yourself in 14-0 holes on a consistent basis and expect to win a lot of those games. So this is now, I'd say 2.5 weeks of me not loving their plan on defense. The opener against the Raiders, they come out and they just blitz Geno Smith all over the place, which I thought was kind of silly. Like they were kind of diabolical in how much they blitzed in that game. And it burned them a couple of times, in big plays. And this week, this isn't prime Aaron Rodgers, where he's throwing deep and he's slinging it, he's airing it out all over the place. Like that's not what he does anymore. This is a check down merchant Aaron Rodgers with the run game. Like that's really what the Steelers' offense is. And it surprised to me that they came out in those 2 high safeties and got run on a little bit in this game. Now they cleaned it up and they got the run stopped. But overall, like I said, the game plans defensively, I think, need to be a little bit better to start these games because there is no reason for them to give up that kind of rushing production in the first quarter. Like it was just too much.
Despite that, they only allowed 21 points and just over 200 yards. Like I'm with you on like they needed to be better defensively to start, but I just have trouble nitpicking the defense in this game. They play even with the first 2 drives. That was a winning effort defensively. That was one of the better games they've played defensively in a while. I get what you're saying about the game plan. I get what you're saying about the game plan.
But they go down 14-0. Like regardless of it, like this is now 2 out of the 3 weeks too, I believe, that they've given up an opening drive touchdown because they did the same thing against the Raiders. So the Raiders went right down the field and scored to start the game. Like if you want, like, I'm not saying it's the bad. It's not the stuff that gets you beat, but you can't be in holes all the time. Like you can't be playing from behind all the time.
They need to start games better. I don't know. They've had some rough defensive. You look at what happened last week against Tua. I just thought this. I know we're doing the good, the bad, and what gets you beat and all that. I think still some missed tackles.
We're gonna get to that.
We can get into the missed tackles. There's some context there.
Yeah.
The biggest thing for me, I would say, with the defense is, look, some of those penalties were pretty ticky-tack. I have kind of a ref rant. I guess I'll squeeze it in now. Some of those penalties were pretty ticky-tack. Carl Cheffers' crew threw more flags than any last season.
Yeah.
Like, not Carl Cheffers, Clete Blakeman. Sorry, I've done that like 2 or 3 times this week. Clete Blakeman's crew threw more flags than any last year. And you know that going in. And the coaches talk about that going in. Billies do that all the time. As a crew, we can get away with a little more. As a crew, we can get away with a little less. They break it down by penalty, right? So, yeah, some of those were ticky-tack. I think the PI late on Carlton and Carlton Davis was ridiculous. But you kind of got to know going in, hey, I probably can't get away with as much as usual. And there were some bad calls the other way, too. Like, I didn't think that PI call on Keyshawn Boutte was a good call.
Right.
The whole uncatchable part of PI was ripped out of the rule book this week. But, like, I don't know. I like an aggressive defense. I think there were times where it was maybe, like, kind of know the situation and, hey, this is who the crew is and this is how they've been calling it to this point. And they weren't good calls, but I think sometimes you got to play that way.
Yeah, no, I thought both calls on Alex Austin were legit. Now, the Carlton Davis DPI, I'm with you, was not DPI in my mind, but
No.
I thought both calls.
First of all, it was a hold, if anything.
Yeah, I just, again, it's the bad. It's not getting them beat that the defense isn't starting great in some of these games. And if you want to do the whole Belichick thing where you kind of let the game declare and you figure out what they're doing and then you settle down defensively, that's all well and good if you have Tom Brady on the other side to keep up until the defense settles down, right? If you're a team like this Patriots team, I think starting fast is important for this group because they are not going to necessarily be able to dig themselves out of 14-point deficits, especially against teams that are better than the Steelers that are going to keep scoring, once they put up 14 points. Like, they're not going to hold, the Buffalo Bills to 2 shutout quarters like the Patriots did against the Steelers on Sunday. You might hold the Carolina Panthers to 2 shutout quarters, but you get my point. So I think defensively the game plans, I didn't mind the game plan as much against Tua. I know the production against Tua was high in those first 3 quarters for Tua, but they played 2 high deep safeties and they made him hit hole shots and things like that on the side. Like, that's what you're going to do against Tua. Like, could they have done it a little bit better? Yeah, they definitely could have done it a little bit better. But that's the book. Like, that's what everybody does against Tua. So you just didn't necessarily execute it at a high level. I didn't really get blitzing Geno Smith, and I don't really get why they were so worried about Aaron Rodgers throwing deep on them in this game to start this game. The other thing that you mentioned was the missed tackles. So I want to unpack this a little bit because I did some digging in the next gen stats world on some of these missed tackles.
Of course you did.
So
I actually think I agree with the take you're about to give.
So they had 14 missed tackles last week, which is too high. Like, that's a very high number.
I think it's less than it was, but it's high.
14 missed tackles. Their missed tackle rate through 3 games is the 3rd highest in the NFL right now. It's 17.8%. So they are missing tackles at the 3rd highest rate in the league. That is too high. Now, Vrabel actually was the first one to bring this up, and we'll get to some of this stuff later maybe because it excites me, and I know it probably bothers you. He knows the stats, and he has them at the ready, which I love. So Next Gen tracks how many yards opponents get after missed tackles.
I mean, it's yards after contact.
Essentially.
Yeah.
After missed tackles. So right now, the Patriots are giving up 3.1 yards after a missed tackle, per missed tackle. All right. That's the lowest rate in the NFL. So on the one hand, they're missing a lot of tackles. That's no bueno.
Yep.
But on the other hand, when they do miss tackles, they're swarming to the football and it's not really burning them. Like, they're not giving up they miss a tackle and then they're giving up a 50-yard run because they missed the tackle, because they are getting hats to the football.
Here's what I'm wondering. Do you have the breakdown on that number by week?
I do. I mean, not off the top of, I didn't write it down, but I could get it.
That's something where in this game, I'm sorry if you still have more to your point, but
I mean, that's basically the point.
Okay, so here's the thing. If you can find the breakdown by week,
I could.
I actually think that's somewhere where I thought they improved in this game. I thought the last 2 games when they missed tackles, it created more yardage. In this game, like, the one play that stands out to me, it was in the 4th quarter. Steelers are trying to run out the clock. Khyiris Tonga shoots in the backfield, blows up a run play, and I think it's Joshua Farmer who's with him. I keep saying this on the air and then forgetting who it is and going back and looking and then forgetting again. I think it's Joshua Farmer who's in there with him, or some other tackles in there with him. Maybe it was Durden. And, like, Tonga can clearly see that he's not the only one who got back there. And he goes for a big hit. And he goes for the ball and he tries to make an explosive play defensively. He ultimately misses the tackle. but Durden and I think it was Spillane or somebody else got in there and cleaned it up, and Jalen Warren got no extra yards off the missed tackle. I think he even might have lost a yard, relatively speaking. That's a coaching point for a lot of teams. Like, if you know...
Adds to the football.
Right. If you know you have help around you, try to make a play. If you're the first guy in, make a play, teammates will clean it up. Don't do that in the open field where there's nobody around you to help, but if you're swarming and you know you're going to be the first guy in the swarm, make a play. And if they're missing tackles that way, that doesn't bother me. Like, yeah, you'd rather the first guy bring him down, but if there's no extra yardage and over the course of the season it produces a couple of fumbles, I'm all for it. It felt like, and they were still some of those open field missed tackles in this game. Christian Ellis had a bad one, and those were the kind of plays that I thought burned them the last couple of weeks, where there was a missed tackle and they weren't swarming the ball and guys were continuing to go.
Yeah, Ellis missed one right in the hole on outside zone and the run gained 11 yards. Which
so
in this last game was the highest missed after a missed tackle total out of any of the missed tackles.
That's obviously not what you want.
Yeah.
But if you're missing tackles because you're just swarming to the ball, the first guy's trying to make a play, which is more what I thought they did more against the Steelers.
Right.
Yeah, again, you don't want to be missing the tackles at all, but that's not really that detrimental.
108 yards over the course of 3 games is still, 35 yards a game or whatever that math is. Like, that's 35 yards you'd like to have back in an ideal world. But to your point, if they're swarming to the ball, if they're getting multiple hats there, and then I think the play that I posted that unfortunately they didn't recover the fumble.
Yeah.
But Kyle Duggar, they run, the Steelers run a boot and they slide Jonnu Smith underneath the formation and across the field. And Kyle Duggar wins the foot race to the edge against Jonnu Smith and makes him cut back into the middle of the field. And Harold Landry clocks him from the side and forces a fumble. Like, that's kind of what you're talking about of, like, Duggar's job on that play is just to make sure that Jonnu doesn't get the edge. And he kind of does his job. And then Landry comes in and cleans up. And one of the big things with Vrabel and one of his non-negotiables is effort and finish. And I think this defense is playing with excellent effort and finish. And I think that that's what that number speaks to in terms of the yards after missed tackles or yards after contact that they're limiting. That's all effort and finish. That's 11 guys flying to the football to make the plays on the ball, whether you make the first tackle or not. So the missed tackles itself is in the bad category. But I do think that the context is important of how much is it really burning them. And the one play that Vrabel mentioned, because he brought this up last week, the point that I'm making, the one play that Vrabel mentioned was the Achane touchdown before halftime in Miami. That's a play where you miss a tackle and you end up giving up a 30-yard touchdown. Those are the ones you can't have. But these other little missed tackles here and there where, your Tonga example, the Duggar example, like those are ones that you can kind of live with because you're not giving up anything. You're not giving up any extra yards from it.
Right.
And to your point, maybe you make a play on the ball and you actually force a turnover by being aggressive there and trying to blow the guy up. So all of it is kind of, I think the missed tackle thing, I don't know if I would say it's being overblown, but I do think that there's some positive thing coming out of it. There's
certainly room to get better. I thought the tackling, though, was better in this game than it was compared to the first 2 weeks.
Especially by Robert Spillane, which we'll get to.
Yeah, Robert Spillane is much better.
All right. The last bad, I think we might disagree of where this is categorized, but I put it in the bad and not the stuff that get you beat, is the 5 penalties for first downs. So they got called for 5 penalties that led directly to first downs in this game. The biggest one was the holding call on Alex Austin that wiped out a strip sack for Milton Williams, backed up on the Steelers' own goal line. So instead of 4th and punt, from like the Steelers' 1 yard line, it's a new set of downs, and the Steelers ended up scoring a touchdown on that drive and going up 14-0. Those penalties are hurting them considerably in these games. Kayvon Chazon, 2 more penalties in this game on defense. Marcus Jones, a personal foul, which was a legit call. You can't chop down blockers like that in the open field anymore. So all of these penalties that are, kind of, especially the ones I would say that are taking off negative plays, like the Milton Williams sack, those ones they can't have. It's bad football, and they need to cut it out. I don't know if you agree with me not putting this in the stuff that gets you beat category.
That's textbook stuff that gets you beat. You're giving away free first. And look, again, it was called ticky-tack. I don't think the refs are the reason that the Patriots lost this game.
Yeah.
But it was there were definitely some ticky-tack annoying calls. Penalties and turnovers are things that get you beat. I think that's textbook.
Well, if they could have had all 5 of those turnovers, or all 5 of those penalties, excuse me, and if they didn't turn the ball over 5 times, they still win the game by a touchdown. So to me, it's just like, yeah, they were not good and they're in the bad category, and you want to eliminate them just like the missed tackles. But it's not necessarily, I don't think that you're losing games because of those penalties.
If they even turn the ball over 3 times and still lose in the same way, the penalties are the headline. I still think the penalties are what get you beat.
All right. The stuff, I knew you were going to disagree with me on that. That's cool.
Well, because the nerds don't believe in penalties.
Yeah, not really.
Just give away all the free yardage.
Don't believe it is strong, but
the nerds don't
it's not as detrimental to the team as the turnovers are.
So I will say this and I don't know exactly the stat Vrabel was referencing, but I've seen some people run with it maybe beyond his context. So I'm not criticizing him because I'm sure he's more informed, but I think people just hear a line and parrot it. Because he said the other day, like the penalty margin isn't as indicative of winning as some people think it is.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm curious where that line is drawn. Are we including games where one team had one more penalty than the other?
Well, usually I would say it's by penalty yardage or like.
Okay, well, 55 penalty yards to 50. Like,
because it's really more, and I know this is going to drive you crazy, but like it's really more about like when the penalties are and like in terms of win probabilities and stuff like that. Like there's a big difference between the penalty I brought up, which was the holding call on Alex Austin that wiped out a Milton Williams strip sack, and an offside by Caleb Von Chase on first down, right? Like that.
Well, I think to the point, that's fair. Like not every penalty is created different. I think my bigger issue is like however you want to saying that the penalty number isn't fully on the line of who wins or loses doesn't mean carte blanche, go commit all the penalties you want, because ultimately it doesn't impact the game and we shouldn't care. Those two are not the same thing, because if you're like, this is where, and again, I don't think Vrabel's doing this, but I think some people hear this line and run with it. Oh, there's no correlation between committing penalties and win-loss, so we should totally ignore the penalties.
Right.
But I'm sorry, if you're a team that's getting penalized, and this isn't what the Patriots are, but like if you're a team that's getting penalized 12 times a game, it is going to be hard to win. So that's not to say you can't have penalties, because to your point, I think it's more about the context of the penalties and the way the game's being called more than anything else. So
like the thing is that it's what he's saying, and what I am in agreement with him on, is that on the list of crap that gets you beat, it's not going to be as high on the list as some of these other things that we're talking about.
I think it depends. I don't think the answer, I don't think that's a yes or no thing.
So just to look at it, I'm gonna nerd out for a second and annoy you, which is exactly why I'm doing it. So the top 10 plays in this game in terms of win probability added or subtracted. So basically the 10 most impactful plays in the entire game. Drake Maye's strip sack, Ramondre's fumble on the goal line, a touchdown to Hunter Henry, Aaron Rodgers' interception, touchdown to Calvin Austin at the end of the game. Actually, the 4th and 1 scramble by Drake Maye is on here. The Antonio Gibson fumble, Ramondre's first fumble, Drake Maye's interception in the end zone, and then the 10-yard play to Kenneth Gainwell that put the Steelers into field goal range on their game-winning drive. But nowhere on that list is penalties.
Okay,
it's touchdowns, it's interceptions, it's turnovers, it's key plays in the actual plays, not.
But that's using the formula that the nerds who don't believe in the penalties created. So you understand it's a little bias, right?
We'll get to this all in a second.
Hang on, just let me close the loop here.
Yeah.
Teams that commit 10 or more penalties in the last 10 years only win 44% of the time.
Yeah, but you could do that with anything. Teams that only throw for 150 yards only win 44% of the time.
Here's my point. No, but because 150 yards is an abnormally low number.
Okay,
right?
10 penalties is an abnormally high number.
Right. So that's my point. There's no correlation between penalties and winning.
No one said there's no correlation.
What was the exact? I don't want to misquote it. What was the exact that they don't impact? Penalties don't impact win-loss as much as other things.
The three things that he highlighted that impact win-loss at the most. And this isn't to say that other things don't impact it at all.
Right.
It's just the three most important things: turnover margin.
Yep.
EPA per dropback or like passer rating or whatever you want to use to for quarterback efficiency, and rush differential. Those are the three things. Now, rush differential is more about like when you have a lead late, you're going to start running the ball.
Rush differential is it the cart or the horse?
Right.
All right. So just on the penalties aren't the most impactful thing.
It's not a top 3 thing,
but it can be if you let them become a problem.
Yeah, that's why that's why it's in the bads. It's just not
okay. But this is you can't. The reason I put it in things that get you beat is because they add up quickly, and if you limit them. Yes, they're not things that get you beat if you keep them to a reasonable amount. But it's really easy for, again, I'm not accusing Vrabel of this, but it's really easy for some fans who subscribe to the analytics to look at that and say, well, I'm not going to worry about the penalty number because it's okay.
I'm not telling you not to worry about it.
8 penalties in a game with a crew that's flag heavy doesn't get you beat. But that doesn't mean you still have to clean it up. You still absolutely have to clean. The bad to me is like, the stuff that gets you beat is self-inflicted wounds. That's what I look at that category being. Not, all right, like this, it's not one-off bad plays. It's not the other team making plays. It's the things that are solely self-inflicted that are fixable. A lot of those penalties are solely self-inflicted things that are fixable. And you can't let that number run up.
This team in this regime, and I didn't want to do this now. I wanted to do this in the second hour, but I just to finish this debate we're having here.
Let's get out of the way, yeah.
This team that we are watching and this regime that we are building here in New England is analytically driven. And so you and your brethren can all sit over there and you can all be stubborn and just not accept it for what it is. Or you can just understand that all 32 teams are headed in this direction, the Patriots included. So I just don't really understand, like, I guess the stubbornness is, and I'm not like trying to come at you. I'm just like, I don't understand why we can't just accept the fact that this is the way that it is. And so instead of just trying to completely combat it all the time, like just understand it. I'm not talking about you. You understand it.
Picture,
but like,
I think big picture, because people don't want their sports determined by numbers. And a lot of people seen what's happened with baseball and they don't want it going that far to the point where it takes away the things we love about the game. They said that in baseball.
No, this is a different sport.
They said that in baseball.
It's a different sport.
And I think
it's a team sport. Baseball's not a team sport.
I think the other side of it is your brethren spent so much time speaking down to my group when Vrabel was, you want another meathead? Yeah, we're going to pound skulls, and Ben Johnson and his khakis are going to come in and crack the numbers, and that's what we got to do.
This isn't what he was in Tennessee. So I was going off of what I knew. If I had known that he was going to be so analytically driven and take all of this information that the analytics community gives him, then great.
He's been in Cleveland and he's talked about how much that experience has changed him?
I guess. I mean, look, he's always had Stretch with him, who is, by most accounts, maybe the best analytics guy in the entire NFL. But it felt like in Tennessee, and I wasn't watching Vrabel press conferences in Tennessee like I'm watching him with the Patriots, but it felt like in Tennessee that he was much more of that thing, go by your gut, instincts and things like that. His decision-making throughout, and also some of the answers, like the answer that he had about teams that turn it over 5 times, only win 5%. And like, he has all these numbers. That is not the Vrabel I remember from Tennessee.
All I'll say is this. When we had the big argument, Ben Johnson versus Mike Vrabel,
but the circumstances
we were in the low
changed.
Just listen. We were in those low, comfy chairs, and we had that whole drag-out thing, and that was probably the best show we've ever done. I enjoyed that immensely. At one point, the conversation became, and I think that this was ultimately the debate, we agreed there were flaws with Vrabel. Yeah. We agreed there were flaws with Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
And I remember asking you this. Is it easier to take a culture-building coach and have him adjust schematically? Or is it easier to take the schematic analytics coach and have him learn to be a character builder? And I said, give me the guy that connects on a human level, that we know can do that. And you put some different coaches around him, you put some different coordinators around him, and maybe the philosophical approach to the football is a little different. That's what I wanted from Mike Vrabel. Is that not exact? I mean, it's 3 games, but like,
Yeah, but
What you
it's
wanted,
too early to know.
You
whether,
wanted analytics, you wanted heavy motion, you wanted outside zone. What are they doing, Evan?
Yeah, but that.
But they're doing
but
everything you wanted, but we got the guy that has actually established a culture. in the past.
Really, and I'm not like mad about it. Like really,
I know you're not mad about it.
Really, what we're
That was
getting
right.
out of this marriage, which I think is what's happening here, is this feels so far a lot like the Detroit Lions, where Dan Campbell is Mr. Kneecaps, right? Like he's biting off kneecaps and stuff like that. But when you actually, that's Dan Campbell's personality. That's his outward facing personality. But when you actually look at the process by the Lions are probably the most analytically driven team in the NFL.
I feel like every time we talk about a team, you say they're the most analytically driven. Didn't you say that about the Browns the other day?
Well, the Browns try to be, but like the Lions do it at the Lions successfully do it.
Okay.
Right? The Lions, I mean, come on, like the fourth down decision making that the Lions are doing is all analytically driven. And the Patriots' fourth down decision making so far has all been analytically driven too. So like I like it. I like where they're headed. Now, the offense stuff, I'll just say this, not to take anything away from Vrabel and what he's brought into the table. I do wish that there was a little bit more credit going to the offense to Josh, because I think Josh McDaniels, I think there's a lot of talk right now that Josh McDaniels is bending the knee to the way that Vrabel and Vrabel's guys want to run the offense. It's West Coast, right? They're turning into a West Coast offense. And I think that's really unfair to the guy calling the plays and the guy that's the offensive coordinator by title and is one of the best in the league, in my opinion. And that's been my opinion for a while now. I just, to try to make it like there's this like, inner turmoil of like who's in charge and like who gets to run that's just not like fair to me to McDaniels, because I think McDaniels is doing a great job, not only with the offense and the system and the scheme, but also with Drake Maye. And he deserves that credit. That doesn't mean that Vrabel doesn't deserve any of the credit. But I just, that would be the only pushback that I would have towards all of this right now. But analytics wise, what they're doing offensively is exactly what I wanted. And I'm just surprised that Vrabel has gone this far this way. I did not think that he would be this kind of coach. You thought that he was going to do this? You're smiling over there like you knew this was coming.
I remember saying at the time.
No, you did not know.
No, not to this extent. Fair. But no, I remember part of my take at the time was he's not, let's see the staff he hires, right? That with Ben Johnson, so much is on him because the things he does well, you can hire coaches to do well. The things we didn't know about him, you really couldn't substitute. The things we knew Mike Vrabel did well are things you can't. Your personality is your personality. Your ability to connect on a human level is not. It's a hard. You can't really learn that.
It's two different brains,
age, right?
He's made it two different brains.
Whereas some of the schematic stuff, and the schematic stuff, I thought there was a chance of this, that they were going to come in and it was going to look different, like what he did in Tennessee. The analytics stuff, all right, that's a little surprising, but it's kind of the same idea. Mike Vrabel doesn't have to be the biggest analytics guy on the planet, but if you're somebody who thinks it's important, he's opened the door to it, and he's gotten people in who can do it.
Yeah,
and
they've expanded the department. I mean, Stretch is stretch, right. But they've expanded.
No, they hired like 5 or 6 people. I remember that. Hiring, not to relitigate this whole thing again. I'm not going to take a victory lap because it's only 2 games in, but just to revisit the conversation now that we have it happening in practice.
Yeah,
hiring Ben Johnson, who is going to be able to handle some of the character stuff because Vrabel has started to change the culture. It's not done yet, but he's clearly started to change the culture. And the players clearly, truly believe in what he's doing. Like, if Ben Johnson wasn't able to rise to that as a head coach,
but
as
Ben
an example.
Is not like the Bears are what, 1 and 2 too.
I'm using Ben Johnson because he was the guy, but like Mike McDaniel's probably the better example, right?
Well, Mike McDaniel,
because that was my worst case scenario. Thing. But that's what you risk when you hire that guy, is that he's a great X's and O's mind, but is he a leader of men? Yeah. And you can't substitute. You can't hire somebody else to. We see teams try to do that. Who was Staley. Staley. Remember they had to hire somebody to essentially like be the head coach on game days.
But Staley is also a defensive guy,
right? But like you can't.
I hear what you're saying.
You can't substitute.
So far, we've both gotten what we've wanted out of this.
which is awesome.
But besides the fact that they're 1 and 2.
Besides the fact they're 1 and 2.
Yeah,
but I don't, big picture looking at the rebuild. But here's the thing. I only think splitting, like having your cake and eating it too, I think Vrabel's the only guy who offered them that opportunity. I don't think any of the other coaches we talked about this offseason would have come in and been able to go both ways the way he has.
Fair enough. All right, let's get to the stuff that gets you beat, and then we got to take a break and do some reads and pay the bills a little bit here.
Yeah.
But really, the 5 turnovers, 4 of the 4 fumbles are pretty self-explanatory. Okay, like Ramondre fumbled twice, Gibson fumbled, got to hold on to the football.
They're a little they're all a little different.
But like,
can we break them down a little bit?
I guess. But I really wanted to talk about the interception. But yeah.
So okay, here's my thing on the fumbles.
Take. Yep.
The Drake Maye one, because I think 3 of them are avoidable. Are mostly, they're all avoidable, but 3 of them are relatively avoidable. The Drake Maye one, I actually pulled the stopwatch out for this. He was in the pocket for 6.01 seconds. That's entirely too long to be in the pocket. And I'm not saying that Drake Maye should never hold the football. I like his ability to extend plays and create off structure, and that's all good. And I have no problem with him doing that. But at a certain point,
I know when the journey's over.
Well, it's not even that. Just leave the pocket. Go do all that over there. Because when am I wrong? Like when you're asking your linemen, all 5 your linemen to hold up for that long, that's a major ask. And if he at least rolls out,
especially once he starts running around, because now, like, I've seen this clip. Sorry to cut you off, but like I've seen this clip, go out there and like Will Campbell's just kind of standing around. But once the quarterback breaks out like that and starts running around, there's nothing the lineman can do.
Right, like you don't know where he is,
and then you're gonna get holding, and like it just at that point the lineman is kind of like at the quarterback's mercy. Like,
but the tricky thing is, like, that's why. So he kind of runs around, but he stays in the same place.
Yeah.
He just sort of runs in circles. You got to bail out. So that's when
he got into the twister a little bit.
I have no problem with him holding the ball. The issue isn't holding him the ball entirely. But at a certain point, you got to know when to leave the pocket and continue to try to make something else happen, especially on first down. Like,
that fumble was, I actually think they got what they wanted from a pass game perspective. They had Kyle Williams running a double move on the right sideline, and Drake tried to pump off the corner and get Williams vertical, and Williams didn't get open, but the safety like jumped it over the top, and they had Henry on the opposite seam against Jabril Peppers in man-to-man coverage, and Henry was winning up the seam on Peppers, and then when Drake came off the pump, to the double move and came to the seam, there was a collision in the middle of the line, and there was bodies at his feet.
Yeah.
And when there was the bodies at his feet, he kind of got happy feet a little bit and he couldn't step into the throw to Henry, and so he pulled it down.
Right.
But what I would like to see, more so than just like the running around, is kind of secondary to this. Like, that's obviously got to stop.
Yeah.
But I think he's got the arm talent to just let that thing rip.
Let that, sure.
And there's nobody over the top of it because the safety's over the top of Kyle Williams. So, like, if you throw an actual deep ball and not like a seam, not like a drive throw, but actually just kind of loop it up there, like the worst case scenario is that it's going to fall incomplete.
You just throw it long.
Yeah.
And I wonder if some of that is, the emphasis on setting his feet after the first couple weeks.
And turnover, all of it.
Just roll out. But
the irony was that he was trying to avoid a turnover, and then he created a turnover.
He was too paranoid about one thing. So again, just roll out. Just roll out. That's all I'm asking on that one. The Antonio Gibson one, that one, look, hold on to the football, but tip your cap to Jabril Peppers. It's a heck of a play. We saw him make that play here a ton. Gets lower in the running back, gets his helmet on the football. Probably a little easier with that guardian cap.
Yeah,
you got a little more room, right?
Yeah.
And again, you don't want to see a fumble, but that was the one that I looked at, right? That's a really competitive play by the defense. And the defense made that play happen. And, not to totally excuse it, but I thought that was a good play. The Stevenson ones were weird because he's like through the line.
Yeah.
And he gets grabbed from behind.
Cameron Hayward gets punched it from like 3 gaps over too.
I know. Those ones to me felt avoidable.
Yeah.
Those
100%.
ones were weird because you can't even really, he's through the line.
Yeah.
And it's just contact from behind. He seems to lose track of the ball. We'll get more into Stevenson, but
yeah,
those are just my thoughts on the fumbles.
So, I'm with you on all of them. With the interception, and this kind of segues into the next thing I wanted to talk about, just the interception, situational football in general, 2 for 4 in the red zone with 2 turnovers. So that's not only are you taking touchdowns off the board in the red zone, but that you're taking points to get altogether off the board by turning it over twice in the red zone. And then, obviously this conversation that's ongoing about Pop and Stevenson, that we'll get to that specifically after the break. But on the interception, I think that there's a couple of things at play here. The biggest one to me is it's the wrong ball. And he talked about this after the game. Yeah. He tried to drive it through the first window instead of trying to just throw it over the top. So like in that case, you got to throw that ball to the back of the end zone, and it's either out of bounds or it's Kayshon Boutte's. Like there's no way that the corner comes in play. But at the same time, it's the wrong ball, and that's on Drake. Also, just quickly, Brady's talked about this. The ball gets tipped a lot in the low red zone, and if you throw it high, it's not gonna get tipped. Like the only reason why Cam Hayward gets a hand on it is because Drake tries to drive the ball through the defense instead of layering it over the top of the defense. If he throws that ball with air underneath it, then Cam Hayward's hand never comes into play either. So it's just that was created all by Drake in terms of the type of throw that he made on the play. Now, the Pop Douglas of it all, I think a real sneaky thing that goes unnoticed on this play, the Patriots tried to run, it's becoming a very staple red zone concept. They tried to run a zipper motion or a return motion where Pop's going to motion into the formation and then he's going to fire out into the flat. And they're basically running smash, like corner flat. And they're trying to high-low the corner out there, where if the corner goes back and plays the corner, then he's going to throw the flat. If he jumps the flat, he throws the corner. And the issue that happens here is that Pop doesn't really run the flat. Like he kind of gets caught up in some bodies, on the motion, and then he doesn't really get all the way out to the flat. And that just really freed up the corner to just kind of play that corner out there by Boutte. So this comes back to all the Pop stuff that I want to get to when we come out of the break, of just the awareness and like the attention to detail. Yeah. That I think his game is still missing. That is really what's holding him back at this point. If he runs that flat and the corner was already kind of coming up to jump the flat, then that's an even easy, like even if it gets tipped, I think that might still be a touchdown anyways, even through the tip. But because the corner is able to come off the flat because of Pop Douglas's route, he gets into the window and picks off the pass. So that's situational football stuff. I want to talk about some of that with Pop and the awareness. I want to talk about Ramondre and what the future holds there for him. But we're going to throw this to break real quick because we got to pay some of the bills.
Whether you're in the game or betting on the game, you'll need a game plan. DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the New England Patriots, provides you with everything you need to build your personal betting game plan so you can get in on all the action while practicing safe bets. Visit DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming to learn more about all the safe betting tools DraftKings has to offer. Hope is here, 800-327-5050 or gamblinghelplinema.org. Must be 21 plus. Play it smart from the start. GameSenseMA.com. Physically present in Massachusetts. See DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
With FedEx One Rate, you can ship to your student for a simple, predictable flat rate. Send a box full of home-baked treats that say, "Your father and I miss you." Or send a box full of instant noodles that says, "Your father and I would like you to stop asking us for money." Either way, one rate fits all. FedEx One Rate. 2-day shipping, one flat rate. Starting at $14.50. Visit FedEx.com/OneRate for details. Exclusions apply.
If you're gonna play the game, boy, you gotta learn to play it right.
DraftKings is all about responsible gaming. It's more fun when it's for fun. So play responsibly. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction.
Catch 22. Catch 22.
Football fans know that tradition matters, turning moments together into something truly epic. They're what inspire us to make our masa and Tostitos the traditional way, starting with whole corn kernels, no artificial flavors, colors, or preservatives, all to give you that perfect crunch. Discover your next tradition this football season. Head to the store, grab your Tostitos team bag, and scan the code for a chance to score an epic experience with the Patriots. Tostitos, tradition matters. And Brunt Workwear makes work boots and apparel that are built for the job site and is official sponsor of the New England Patriots and the Gillette Stadium Field Crew. Their gear is comfortable, durable, and named after the real workers in the trades that helped design it. You can even try Brunt out on the job, and if it doesn't blow you away, then they let you send it back. Save $10 on your first order at bruntworkwear.com/Pats or with coupon code PATS. Do you think Brunt, Alex, makes clothes for Boyd the dog? Because if it's the official sponsor of the Gillette Stadium Field Crew,
that's a
then
good question.
he's a big part of the field crew. And
See if they send something for Atlas.
they should get him like a little doggy, vest or sweater because it gets cold in the winter time, right? And so Boyd needs to bundle up. All right, let's breeze through 3 up, 3 down here, and then we're gonna take your calls and emails. And I do want to talk about Stevenson and Pop and our takes on that those situations, plural, as well. So let's just breeze through these. Number 1 up for me was Hunter Henry in this game. 8 catches, 90 yards, 2 touchdowns, gains of 18, 15, and then 16-yard touchdown on 4th and 2. Great play by him, great throw by Drake Maye. I just thought Hunter Henry was nails in this game.
He's really good.
Yeah, good.
I'll leave it. Still good at this age, and he's going to be a big part of what they do.
He also made a sneaky downfield block on Drake's 15-yard scramble in the second quarter. Just a really good game.
Also
for him.
came back in the game after it looked like he'd gotten hurt at one point.
Yeah, really good game.
That's a guy that needs to stay healthy. My number 1 was Robert Spillane.
Yep.
You see how differently, and he wasn't the entire reason the defense played better, but you see how differently the defense operates when he's on his game and tackling and flying to the football. So they need him. We talked about this last week. They're with where they're struggling with linebacker play. There's a couple things they can do here and there to maybe compensate for that elsewhere, but really a lot of it, as much as we like to do the in-depth on this show, a lot of it really simply was just that he needed to play better, period, full stop.
Yeah.
And so it's good to see him. There's still a little room to improve, but it's good to see him get back on the right track and look more like the player we saw this summer and that we've seen him be in the past.
Yeah, I had him too. The pick, 3 run stuffs, 14 total tackles. Just, he was kind of all over the place in this game.
Which is exactly what you expect from him.
Now the 15-yarder to Warren on the final drive is him. That's his zone and his coverage, but that's not really his game. Like the game that they let him play for the majority of this game is the game he needs to play. Cleaning up and just hustle and, see ball, get ball, read and react, that sort of thing. I thought that they had him in better positions. I thought that he played a lot better in this game. 0 missed tackles in this game for him. Just a big improvement from Robert Spillane.
Yep.
Number 2.
Hunter Henry.
Yeah. Number 3.
Kyrus Tonga.
That's a beast.
He's
a beast.
How awesome is Kyrie? Just comes in completely unassuming. He was like the last guy they signed. That day they signed Spillane and Milton Williams. It was like a really busy day. It was like him and Mac Williams. I was home at that point, eating dinner, kind of a throw in. I think like I was on with you or somebody. One of the shows I did, we were doing the free agency recap, skipped Kyrus Tonga. He was just
skip him.
Some fringe guy. No, he's a baller, dude. He's awesome. And he's fun to watch. And you can tell he has fun playing a game. He's getting into the backfield against the run. He's getting into the backfield against the pass. Really, really, really good find early by this front office.
There was multiple run stuffs that he contributed to that he didn't necessarily make the tackle, but his penetration is what blew up the play. And then he also drew a hold where he put Zach Frazier, the Steelers center, just on skates, and the guy just had to hold on to him for dear life. The only thing that I can think of that is keeping his snap count low is conditioning. Like, he's a 335-pound guy. So that's the only thing.
Well,
and he is a game.
2 other really good defensive tackles.
But he's just wrecking things whenever he's in there. So now maybe that's the best role for him, is to play 20, 25 snaps a game. I think it is. Maybe that's just what it is.
And maybe you up it a little bit as you get more into the year, and you can give Barmore and Williams a little more rest when you need. But, I mean, he's the 3rd guy in that room. But it's a good... Is that their best room right now?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Milton Williams is awesome.
Defensive line, you want to throw Harold Landry in there,
so,
too.
So Harold Landry was the other guy that I had written down. 2 pressures, forced fumble, also tackle for loss and coverage. dropping out as the end and tackling the running back there. I just think he makes like 4 or 5 impactful plays a game.
I'd agree
where I'm jotting down, Harold Landry's name. So I was really impressed with him. On the downside, I personally stayed away from Pop and Stevenson. I think those are obvious. I wanted to kind of talk about some of these guys that I think were kind of on the downs that maybe weren't as obvious as the 2 most obvious ones.
So I had ball security as one, so that includes Ramondre and Drake Maye to an extent.
So my number 1 downs in this game were Christian Ellis and Alex Austin, who both got benched in the game. And I said earlier I thought it was good that they showed some accountability on the defensive side of the ball by benching them. But they were hoping, especially Ellis, but I would say Austin too, as kind of that 3rd or 4th cornerback, that these guys were going to be contributors for them. Not stars, not high impact players, but contributors. And the linebacker spot next to Spillane now is a question mark. I'm honestly, it's week 4. I'm kind of talking about Jelani Tavai in my head again. Like, is that an answer?
Right.
For them when he comes back off injured reserve? Alex Austin, at this point, that doesn't seem very playable at corner, which is a bummer because I thought that he had a great camp and I thought he had a great end of the season last year. And I thought he was kind of coming on as a contributor and a player that they could rely on. And they just don't really seem like they can rely on either of those guys. So a hit for your linebacker depth and a hit for your cornerback depth.
Yeah, where they didn't have a lot of depth at linebacker before that one especially.
So you had ball security.
I had ball security. I just had that sequence on the goal line. Like, I know you just kind of sang Josh McDaniels' praises, and I don't want to put him as a down because for the most part they were good in that game. You got to run the ball there at least once.
Yeah,
you got to run the ball there.
They said that
at the end of the half.
Checked out of a couple. I think I think Drake specifically said second down was a run play, and he got the look to check out of it.
They were blowing the Steelers line off the ball at that point. That was a long drive too. That defense was gassed. Put the big heavies in.
I hear you.
Throw a 6 offensive linemen in there. Put somebody in the backfield as a fullback and just make them just sheer will stop.
Yeah.
I thought it was.
I think they will.
And this isn't just caveman. It's a little bit. Run. Well, no. Let me explain some more. This isn't just caveman. You're on the goal line. Run the goal. Like go to the goal line. Play formation in the Madden playbook and run it. That was like an 8-minute drive. Take advantage of the fatigue of those guys and blow them back off the ball.
You're right. And I think one of the good things.
Or 5 wide QB power.
Yeah, they haven't done that yet, which I don't know exactly why not.
So I'll be honest, that's in not in Madden, but in like the college game this year.
Yeah.
That's like something that's really hard to defend. You go 5 wide and you either hit the quick screen or you just QB power it if they have too many guys in the box, and it's so hard to stop if you have the right quarterback. So I'm obsessed with that play now.
They did a lot with Cam in 2020. Now Cam's a different animal. He's 250 pounds, but that's in the bag. Like that's in the book.
No, I think that would have been a good time to pull it out.
They've motioned the running back a couple of times to get indicators, and every time they motion him out into empty, I keep thinking that QB power is coming, and then they motion him back in, and they don't do it. So at some point, I think that the design quarterback runs will come out. Maybe they're saving those for later in the season for I know this is kind of silly to say with a rebuilding team, but like bigger stakes games.
Josh has a history of that.
Yeah.
We said this, his offense is never the same in December that it is in September.
Okay. Number 2 for me, it was Will Campbell. I thought Will Campbell struggled in this game, and I want to be fair and I want to be objective. I sing his praises all the time when he's good. I don't want to be, I don't want to run away when he's bad. In this game, I had him with 6 pressures. PFF had him with 4. I think some of these.
They had him with 7.
They did after the game, but they
dropped it to 4. Okay.
They review it. Some of the short corners, the beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Like, is it too short? Is it not? You know what I mean? Like the around the corner, short corners. Like you can kind of gauge it. I probably was a little bit more nitpicky on some of those than PFF, and that's why we had slightly different number. You want to split the difference and call it 5? We can call it 5.
We'll call it 5.
5 is a little bit too much. Now, the one thing that I really concerned me the most about it, not concerned, but like the reason why he's on the downs, the inside moves. Like that's the one thing that I don't want to see Campbell give up. I want to see him fix that. Herbig got him twice on inside moves. One of them down on the goal line on the throw to Hunter Henry on the first down play, I want to say it was.
Second down play.
Second down play.
The interception.
Yeah, second down play.
I think that's why May threw the next one so quickly.
Yeah, second down play. he beat, it was blow by, beat him clean on an inside move. Then later on in the game, he beat him again on an inside move. Campbell rode him down a little bit better this time, but still registered a quarterback hit. Herbig didn't get the sack, but it led to a sack.
Yeah.
The pressure led to a sack. I still am fully on board and in on Will Campbell. I looked this up last night because I wanted to kind of get a more big picture view. He is right in the middle of the pack right now in pass blocking efficiency. He's 34th out of 62 tackles. I will take it. Average pass protection out of him his rookie season is exactly what they were looking for. Just get back to level at that position. Right. I think he's still an impact run blocker. And if he's an average pass protector, when they drafted him, we talked about this. He's not Jonathan Ogden. He's not Joe Thomas. He was not that level of prospect. He's not Joe Alt, right? Like that wasn't the prospect he was. He was much more in that, Jake Matthews like type of mold, right? Where he's going to be a good tackle for 10 years, but he might not be he might not have a gold jacket on when this is all said and done. And I think I will take it on the whole. The Herbig matchup in general is going to those are the kind of guys that are going to give him problems. The speed guys that can get out on the edge, that can get him opened up and then open up those inside moves. Those are going to be the ones that they're going to have to manage with Will Campbell and maybe chip or slide or send some extra help that direction because of the lack of reach. It makes it harder for him to get out to those guys. And so then he overcompensates and then they beat him to the inside. So
that was the other thing I noticed too. Like they sent more help to the right side in this game than they have the last
TJ Watt's
couple.
On the right side.
No, I'm not saying that's, and I think that's a vote in the confidence of Will Campbell in what he did in the first two games. I had the offensive line as a whole as a down. I thought, Campbell's obviously a part of that. This was his worst game. I will say though, just for reference, I looked this up because I was curious. So they, NFL Pro Next Gen Stats, whatever you want to call that one, had the pressure rate at 40.4%, which is high.
Yep.
I mean, you want to be lower than that. That would have been their 8th highest pressure rate in a game last year.
Still much better.
So if this is their floor, again, they need to be better than that. And I think they exceeded expectations the first 2 weeks, which is why this feels so jarring. I think they're probably somewhere in between what they were the first 2 weeks and what they were in this game.
Yeah.
But I'll take that as a floor. If that's your worst game or one of your 2 or 3 worst games, you have a solid offensive line. So I think that, we have that kind of performance, assuming everybody's healthy. I think that's their floor if they're healthy. Once they start losing guys, that's another conversation. But if that's as bad as they get and they don't play that way consistently and they're better than that consistently, I feel pretty good about where they're at on the offensive line.
So they faced some individual good rushers, Crosby, Watt, players like that.
This felt like the best group.
The Steelers front's the best group.
Yeah.
It hasn't, in terms of strength of schedule, they haven't faced a murderer's row of fronts yet. But just by the numbers.
When do they?
The composite ranking, so Ben Baldwin tracks this PFF grade, blown block percentage, and pass rush win rate, or pass blocking win rate. The Patriots composite grade right now in those 3 metrics is 7th in the league. They have the 7th best pass protection in the NFL. Now that seems a little high, just eye test wise. I think they're probably more middle of the pack.
Again, I think that's
so
accurate.
much better.
I think that's accurate in terms of what they've done to this point.
Yeah, I just don't. When they face better fronts, it might not be as accurate.
I think they exceeded expectations the first 2 games.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to be that good all the way
but
through.
So much better. I mean, marketably better than where it was last year, which I know is not the bar, but it's still nice. It's still refreshing that it's so much better. So you had offensive line, ball security, right? So we're on 3.
Yep.
Number 3, I want to talk about this a little bit. I think we're on the same page here. I had Travion Henderson as the 3rd down. And again, this is outside of the obvious ones of Ramondre Stevenson and Pop Douglas.
I included the obvious. My 3rd one's Pop.
So Travion Henderson, I want to see Travion Henderson play more. I shouldn't say play more. I want to see Travion Henderson succeed. I want him to flourish.
Yep.
I want him to be the guy that we all thought he was in training camp and in the preseason. But so far, the tape through 3 games has not been great. I think the main thing that I'm seeing with him, I know all of us are talking a lot about the pass protection stuff, which is important. And again, came up in this game. He allowed another hurry early. He did have a really good rep late in this game in pass protection. That was much more indicative of his college tape in that regard. But another missed, blitz assignment early in this game that led to a quarterback hit. but it's the running in the vision. He has a little bit of tunnel vision right now when he runs between the tackles, and he's not tempoing runs great.
Right.
So like what
Which is something he did so well in college.
He's
and in preseason.
He's literally just smashing into the line of scrimmage right now.
So do you think
and into crowds of
is
people.
that a vision issue or is that a patience issue?
Both.
Okay.
I think that he's missing cutback lanes, but I also think that because he's going so fast, that there's not enough time for him to read and react to the developing
Is it
blocks.
more of a vision issue or is it more of a patience issue?
I think it's more of a patience issue.
That feels easier to fix.
You have to know, and I said this yesterday on PU, running back is tempoing runs is really important.
Yeah.
You have to know you don't have to go 100 miles an hour all the time. You have to know when to put it into first gear and then when to put it into sixth gear. And you have to have those different gears as a running back because you need to allow the blocking to develop. You know, the best thing that you can do as a running back is let your blockers do the dirty work. Like let them get the run going, and then it's your job to then get up to the second and third level and make the unblocked guys miss, right? Like that is where your job is. So with Henderson, I think you saw it a little bit too on his screen target as well. He's just not seeing the field very well right now in terms of cutting off blocks and patience behind his blocks and all these different things. So I look at it and think that this is just all moving a little bit fast for him right now. I think he's a little bit sped up with his reads, and that is very, very common for a young running back. With that being said, the worst thing for them to probably do is to throw him out there for 50 snaps on Sunday, right? Like he has to work on these things. So now that being said, his speed is so important to this offense that maybe it's like a package of plays where you're using him almost as like a gadget player, where it's motions, it's screens, it's vertical routes out of the backfield. Like it's not traditional offense. It's more of like a package of specialized plays that is meant to get his game-breaking speed on the field. Let's call it 15, 20 times a game. And I think that's where we're at right now with Travion.
And I've talked about this, like when he's used as a high volume guy, he's not as effective. That was the case in college to begin with. So yeah, for me, is it maybe just the speed of the NFL game too that's part of it? Because he's used to some lanes that would be there in college, maybe even would be
especially
there in the preseason,
playing at Ohio State.
Right, that just aren't there right now. So I think it's not that out of character for a young running back.
No.
But it is something he needs to improve on. I don't think the answer... They're a little stagnant when he's on the field right now, offensively. That's just the reality of it. And you need to give him reps to break through. So I'm not saying don't play him, especially with what's going on with Ramondre. But you also don't want to... I don't think the answer to Travion Henderson struggling is more Travion Henderson.
No.
I don't think that that's going to help him. I don't think that's going to help the team either. To your point, pick your spots. Try to get him on the outside maybe a little more.
Yeah, I would like to see some of that. But they ran a toss to him, and Campbell probably could have gotten into the block a little bit faster. But Travion also just like gave him no time to get to the block, and he just kind of ran right by Campbell. So I would like to see that too, like tosses, swing passes, obviously verticals out of the backfield. They ran one in Miami. They ran that pick play for him, and it worked. Like things like that are less reading and reacting for him, and more let's just get his space and his speed into space.
Yeah, I'm not like worried about him big picture, but there's just some things he needs to improve on.
Yeah, exactly. And did you do your third one?
My last one was Pop Douglas.
Okay, so let's talk about this.
Let's do Ramondre first because I think they're related.
Yeah,
because I got asked on the radio this morning,
and just to be clear, like this is our take on what they should do with these two guys moving forward.
Yeah. So I got it. Well, but I think we need to have the reason I want to do Ramondre first is because I don't think the question is what do you do with Ramondre Stevenson. I think the question is what do you do about the running back room?
Yeah, the running back room as a whole is all of them have flaws right now.
There's no obvious. If they had a guy, if Travion Henderson was out there lighting it up, or Antonio Gibson was out there lighting it up, it's an easy conversation, right? I'm kind of surprised they didn't add a back, and I guess they still can. It's Wednesday morning. They have an open roster spot, so let's not rule it out entirely. But the thing with Stevenson is, and all right, let me start here before people say I'm being an apologist or I'm making excuses. You can't put the ball on the ground, period, but especially the way he's done it. And you look at his history from last year, I'm somebody who said, hey, he didn't have a fumble problem the first 3 years. He had it last year, but let's see if he can get back on track. It looks like maybe he didn't.
Yeah.
You cannot put the ball on the ground. Period, full stop. When he has been on the field, though, he's been one of their most explosive players.
Offense is running through him and Hunter Henry.
They have 7 plays that have gone for more than 20 yards this year. He is responsible for 3 of those.
Yeah.
When you look at what he did in this game, and it gets overshadowed because of the fumbles, rightfully so, but he converts 2 third and longs in that game, 2 third and 10 pluses. There was another, I think was it 3rd and 13 or 3rd and 12 on that drive in the second half where they're backed up, where he gets all but one, makes a defender miss, gets all but 1 yard, and then he converts the 4th down for them.
Yeah.
After that, it was the one all the way back and
on a play that should have been blown up.
That should have been blown up. He makes a guy clean miss in the open field.
Yep.
Travion Henderson is not doing that right now.
Neither is Gibson.
He's doing it a little bit. I actually think he's been sneaky okay, but he fumbled, and he also kind of has a fumble history.
Yeah.
So you cannot outright bench Ramondre Stevenson. You cannot not play him because the offense, unless Travion Henderson in 1 week takes that jump, the offense is going to become stagnant. You're going to go back to having a lot of 3 and outs, which none of us want to see, right? Or you have to go back to what you did against the Raiders and throw the ball 50 times, which we know doesn't work.
It's an extremely difficult spot to be in.
I think you have to pick your spots where, he's not going to be targeted as much, things like that. The other thing to know with him, he's probably going to get a lot of yards after contact this week because the Panthers are not going to be in a rush to bring him down. They're going to stand him up and get the 2nd and 3rd guy in and punch at the ball. So I know it sounds crazy, and I'm sure people are annoyed hearing this. You had to watch him, you had to see all his fumbles last year, and then he fumbles 2 times in this game, and it's costly. And I get people might be frustrated with it.
His fumble on the goal line to me was the biggest play.
And it's an inexcusable. It's not like somebody on the defense made this unbelievable play to knock it out. The offense, when he's not on the field, grinds to a halt. And is punting better than fumbling? Yes. But you can't just have no offense and go back to trying to win all these games 10-7. You can't do it. So I think it's
an incredibly hard position for Vrabel to be in.
Right.
Because
Josh,
they're trying to preach accountability. They're trying to build a program. They're trying to put guys on the field that play winning football. But at the same time, this offense right now is built through Hunter Henry and Ramondre Stevenson. Right. They are their 2 best skill players, and they have built the whole thing around those 2 guys. And you see games from Ramondre, like in Miami, where he was maybe the best player on the field in that game for the Patriots offense. And so if you take him out of the equation and you really don't have great backups to go to right now, great options, because Henderson is...
You don't have guys you can trust.
Right. You don't have
for
guys you
different
trust.
reasons, because people are going to say, well, you can't trust Stevenson either. Look, here's the thing. I think some people heard Mike Vrabel say after the game, we're going to need him, talking about Ramondre Stevenson. Drake said it too. They are going to need him. He's not wrong.
They're not cutting him.
Here's the thing. Both are true. The Patriots need Ramondre Stevenson on the field to be the best version of what they can be offensively. And the Patriots cannot afford to put Ramondre Stevenson on the field if he's going to fumble once a game, which he was doing for a good chunk of last year. He's doing right now. So how do you square those two?
I don't know. It's a rock and a hard place.
That's just where you're at, right? It's not always going to be easy in the NFL. Welcome to the National Football League, right?
This is why Mike Vrabel is the head coach, and we talk about the team on the podcast, because this is this is an incredibly difficult spot because of all the things that we're both saying.
Can I give you what I think the answer is? And this is going to sound a little simplistic. This is really what I think it is.
Yes.
You got to split it a third, and just try to put guys in situations where they're going to succeed. Get Travion Henderson to the outside, get him involved in the passing game, but not pass blocking. Get Stevenson going between the tackles. Don't run him too much consecutively, because I think that's where the fumbles happen for him, is when he's on the field and he's carrying the ball 5, 6, 7, 8 plays in a row. Yeah. Gibson's pretty well-rounded. I think you just mix him in where you need, but a third, and whoever kind of comes out of that looking the best, you start to skew the touches and the carries and the snaps more towards that guy. That's really kind of caveman pounding using a rock as a hammer. I don't know. You got a better answer? What does the math tell you, Evan? Which running back does the math tell you to play?
If it was me, this is just
no. That's an honest question. I'm curious. Which running backs do the analytics tell you to play?
Like in terms of what, like yards after contact.
You know how the numbers work better than me.
But we're not like you're not just placing
DVOA.
You're not just placing like a value on a player like that.
EPA DVOA.
I mean, Ramondre is the best player out of the group.
Who do they have the highest?
Ramondre. I'm telling you,
X
Ramondre.
on the field. Okay, so like we do this in basketball all the time, right?
It's Ramondre.
What is this stupid stat you guys use with basketball? When this player's on the court, the true plus minus or something, whatever.
Yeah, or like pi, player efficiency.
Sure, right. Yeah. Like so Ramondre, the numbers tell you they are at their best when Ramondre is on the field.
Ramondre.
Even with the fumbles.
And also I would, just adding to all the other things that we've said about what makes Ramondre good outside the fumbles, he's their best pass blocker too.
Well, and here's the thing about that.
He's by far their best pass blocker.
And people were asking why he was on the field at times late in this pass game.
For pass blocking.
You can't fumble when you're pass blocking.
No, he was literally on the field for pass blocking. It's the only thing he did when they put him back on the field.
Which, in that sense, you can still use him, and you don't. If he fumbles while pass blocking, something went wrong.
I think there's two different sort of sides of this, and that's what makes this such a difficult spot for Mike Vrabel to be in.
Yeah.
The first thing is preaching culture, accountability. Don't do the stuff that gets you beat. Like all of like the non-negotiables for him, Ramondre, violated in this game. But let me finish.
Yeah.
The other side of it though is that in the short term, they're at their best with him on the field. So what's more important, like the long-term vision of the program or Ramondre winning them a game on Sunday against Carolina?
It's the long term. The other backs are doing stuff that gets you beat too. Getting blown up in pass protection gets you beat. Gibson fumbled. Like
Gibson's fumble gets you beat.
Again, some of this is not necessarily in defense of Ramondre Stevenson. It's simply I think you have acknowledge.
I think you have to sit him against Carolina. I do.
100%. Like not play him.
Yes.
I just worry about the offense grinding.
If you can't beat the Carolina Panthers at home without Ramondre Stevenson, this isn't Buffalo. If this was Buffalo,
they just beat the Falcons. I would argue, if anything, it's the opposite. Hey, like Buffalo, we need everything we can get. And we're, up against it anyway, and we need to take some chances, and Ramondre gives us the chance for explosive plays. With
that Carolina team's awful. The 30-0 score against the Falcons is super deceiving. The Falcons imploded. Like they fired their wide receivers coach. Zach Robinson's on the hot seat. Like your boy Penix was throwing freaking spraying the ball all over the yard, like pick sixes. Like that was an implosion by the Atlanta Falcons.
Don't play Ramondre.
Yes, I think Gibson's the lead back and Henderson's the third down back.
Then do people look at Gibson and be like, why is he allowed to fumble and that guy isn't? Or okay, I'm allowed to fumble once without accountability.
I know Gibson has a little bit.
The second fumble, I can't.
I know that Gibson has a little bit of a history from Washington, but it's not 9 fumbles in your last 18 games.
But the message, like if we're just going to talk about the message of it, he fumbled. And, you look at, okay, so I can fumble once and not be held accountable, but I can't fumble twice. And maybe that's the message, right? Don't be a mistake repeater.
At some point, though, Alex, you have to draw a line.
Let me ask you this. Do you dress him? Or is he healthy, scratch, and active?
I don't know.
So that
you probably have to, unless you want to like call up Terrell Jennings as the third running back.
So you have to have 3 backs.
So you probably have to dress him as a third running back, but then you also create the distraction of him standing on the sideline and not playing. Like it's obviously very, very different circumstances, but it's Malcolm Butler, right? Like you don't want to do that.
But
either.
I think, first of all, whether he dresses or not, Terrell Jennings, there should be another back up.
Yeah.
I think they should have.
No, they're gonna have to sign or elevate a third running back.
I know you said it's the Carolina Panthers at home. They're bad. You should beat them. What if it's close late and Henderson's running for 2 yards a carry and Gibson fumbles again?
No, this is not about any of that. I think it has to be. No, it can't be, Alex. You can't look at it like that. Like this is not about the Carolina Panthers in Week 4. This is not what it's about. It's about they have non-negotiables up in the team auditorium, and protecting the football is on the list, and he keeps putting the ball on the ground. Like,
but if you're Mike Vrabel and you lose the game and the offense is stagnant and Stevenson could have helped you, how do you look at the team and say I did what's best for the team?
Because if you can't find a way to move the ball against this Panthers defense without him, then you're porked anyways. And honestly, like I don't think it's going to come to that. Like I really don't.
All right.
So I just That's what I would do probably.
Do you think he will play?
Yes.
I think he's going to play a little bit. I think it's going to be a reduced role. I think it's mostly going to be pass blocking, but I think he's going to play.
I agree. I think he'll play a little bit. And if it's like, if he plays like as the third running back and it's pass blocking and things like that, to me is essentially benching him.
So that's what I would do.
Yeah, like that to me is essentially
we're going to you're going to play to pass block. You might get a couple carries. Like if a guy needs a spell, somebody gets hurt, you use him as a third running back. Like that, I would demote him. I wouldn't outright bench him. And again, some of that is just because
maybe that's a better way to put it.
I think you need him to do certain things that the other guys, you need him to pass block. The other guys aren't going to do that at the same level.
I think demoting him instead of benching him is probably a better way to put it.
Yeah.
And I think the goal is long-term would obviously be to get him back to being the lead guy because he is your best running back. But I will strongly say though, like all, and I'm not saying it's a lot of people, but like people saying that he should be cut or all like he's not, let's relax. I do think that there needs to be a level of accountability.
But
Absolutely.
I do think you need to, because we both agree they do need him.
Yes.
In the big picture of this season,
he might be their best offensive player outside of Drake. Like might be at least their best offensive skill player. And I don't think that honestly I will say that, and I don't think it's necessarily that close. Like him at his best is their best offensive skill player.
Him saying after the game, because he was asked about the comment, Vrabel saying hey, we're going to need him, and he was asked about that, and he said, I think verbatim, if I can't hold on to the ball, they don't need me. Like
he's not wrong.
He's not wrong, but mentally, like you can't lose him mentally.
Yeah.
Either. So whatever you're going to do is going to impact, like, because that's when the fumbles will like. There's no coming back from that in any job, whatever you're in. Like we've all gotten discouraged. I'm sure anybody listening, you get discouraged in your job and you let it mentally weigh on you. That's a lot. Like, I'll write something, I make a typo, I go and I change it, I forget about it. But if it's like a bad one or I get called out in a way I don't like, and like then it becomes a mental thing and it lags and then it starts impacting me with other stuff. Like, if you know you need him, you do have to be, and this is to get back to the leader of men thing.
Yes.
You can't play him. You can't play him as much as you have been. You can't ignore it. You can't create a situation either, though, where he's just so lost mentally that you can't fix it, because the goal still needs to be long-term to fix it. And
so
if it becomes a mental block, then there goes that.
What are you doing with Pop?
So you guys know I've been as big of a defender of Pop Douglas as anybody.
Same.
It's probably time to give somebody else some looks. I don't think the snap count's going to 0. And the thing for me is him and Drake just aren't on the same page.
Yeah.
And I kind of hope that they get there with more and more reps, and it's just not happening. We talked about this last week. It's Kyle Williams. I've been getting asked about Efton Chisholm, and there's going to be a time for Efton Chisholm. I know I keep coming on here every week and saying be patient with Efton Chisholm. There will be a time for Efton Chisholm. This is not it, because, like you talked about Trayvon Henderson, there's a straight line speed element with Pop Douglas that when you take him off the field, the offense is slow.
Yeah.
And Efton Chisholm is not replicating that. Now, I wish they'd taken more advantage of that and run Pop more vertically. I think and also, like, just the element of Kyle Williams, a third-round pick. You got to get this guy going. You cannot burn another top 100 pick on a receiver who doesn't play.
Is a solution, and I think that this solution, in theory, sounds great, but at the same time, I have some reservations. But really, the solution in 3 receiver sets, I think, for most people, is Diggs goes to the slot, Booty goes to the Z, and Kyle Williams comes on the field.
So Pop Douglas has been the 4th receiver, because it's been Hollins, Diggs,
but not in 11. Like it's because they're playing so much 2 tight end.
Okay, so I'm not playing Kyle Williams in heavy. Let's just, when you're in heavy, you don't need to change anything.
Yeah.
Pop wasn't playing in that.
I mean, but that's different, though. I mean, yeah, but
maybe that is it? This might surprise you. And depending on how exactly you want to measure this, there's some arguments it's Kayshon Boutte, but Stephon Diggs has been their most productive wide receiver.
Yeah.
No wide receiver on this team's caught more. I think only Hunter Henry's caught more passes. In yards, he's second to Boutte. So do you want to tinker with him right now? Or do you want to build on what he's doing and run Kyle Williams in the slot?
I just don't think Kyle Williams is a slot. So not a pure slot. Like Kyle,
but he can do the stuff that Pop Douglas was doing.
He's more, to me, he's more vertical than he is horizontal.
They should be using that role more vertically.
I don't know. I look at Diggs and I look at the way that he played in Houston this past year, and it's a lot of the same. The catches that he is making are, slants, in cuts, whips, like things like that. Like it is all the slot routes, right? Like it's all the same kind of thing. I think the biggest thing with Pop and that role in general, and really, that slot receiver role that I wrote about at the end of training camp, so much of it is having it between the ears. Like it's a thinking position.
Yeah.
It's the reads. It's knowing where the holes are in coverage. It's knowing when it's man versus zone. It's knowing your route depths and like being precise with your routes in that respect. It's knowing where the sticks are, right? Like these are all like the little things that are adding up for Pop Douglas. And so they have to get, if it's not going to be him, then they have to get a more heady, high IQ player in that position. That doesn't mean that Pop doesn't have a role. It just means that maybe that's not his strong suit. And as much as I agree with you that it slows them down in terms of team speed on the field with Chisholm, I think Chisholm's going to have that. I think he's going to have the game instincts and the feel and the awareness. Now, he might not have the burst and the speed and the explosiveness that Pop Douglas has, but I hate to say it because I don't know for a fact.
Yeah.
But my gut tells me that if Efton Chisholm catches that 4th and 1 play, he's going shoulder down and he's charging up the field.
I don't think you can make this whole decision off of one play. Like, I think you need to look at the big picture of what's best with the offense.
But that play is a microcosm of all of the issues.
But that slot guy simply being able to fall forward and get 1 more yard, so it's a 2-yard, that's not
just
the
that.
issue.
It's also occupying the flat on the booty touchdown. It's also like when they run that swing concept out of the spinner, like he keeps drifting up the field and he makes, as Drake Maye is throwing, the throw is becoming further and further away from the quarterback. It's route depth, it's precision, it's all these little details that you can run a 4-4 and be fast and be explosive and be jitterbuggy and all this great stuff. But if you aren't in the right places at the right time, then what good is any of that?
Then when's Kyle Williams going to play? Like ever?
He's going to play on the outside.
You're making the case for Chisholm right now, right?
I'm making a case for somebody else.
Okay.
I think Diggs could probably do all these little things too.
So I would put Diggs inside I just think if you take Pop Douglas off the field, right?
You get slow. You do. You lose speed.
But so your point was how changing the receiver impacts the way the offense operates.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it more as what is the change in personnel going to do to the way the defense defends you? And I think when you have that slower group out there, those safeties are going to come up. Teams are going to be more inclined to play base even against 11, and it's just going to make it harder for you to do a lot of the other stuff you want to do. So that's why I think it has to be Kyle Williams.
But Kyle Williams is not a slot.
Wherever. That's why I think Kyle Williams is the next guy you go to.
So what I would do, because Hollins is going to play in his role,
right?
Because of the blocking, which has been hit or miss, by the way, but he's going to play.
Still better than what you're going to get from most of these guys.
So in 11, like when we're talking about obvious pass, I think it's Booty Diggs and Kyle Williams. Like I really do. Now Efton Chisholm, I think, should probably get some of those pure like Y or F slot reps, like the Danny Amendola slot reps. I think that still kind of role could exist for Chisholm, but it's Kyle Williams on the outside with Booty and it's Diggs in the slot. Like I think that's where you have to go, and I think you have to hope that Diggs, 10-year veteran at this point, has that extra headiness, that extra field awareness, that extra game sense that Pop just isn't showing right now.
Yeah.
And Pop, I think, to me, it goes into a role that was similar to what we were just talking about with Travion Henderson, where it's package plays of motions and window dressing type things and swings into the flats and, maybe some vertical routes, but it's not the Danny Amendola, Julian Edelman, Wes Welker gamut of slot routes that I just don't think that he's fully detail oriented enough to thrive in that type of role. And I would also just to end it this point, there is something there to the fact that he's only 5'7" and 3/4 or whatever it is. Like his height and his lack of catch radius I don't know how great of a fit that is with the quarterback. And I've been saying this for a while now. This is not a new take of mine. And like, it just kind of seems to me like it's a hard target to hit when Pop is running across the field at full speed on a crossing route and he's running in between spaces in the zone, and Drake Maye has got to throw it to like the second zone window, like on the crosser that he airmailed that almost went intercepted. And he's got a 5'8" slot receiver that he's trying to hit within the in between two zone defenders. Like, it's just not a really big target, especially when he's moving across the field. So I think that's an element of this as well. But at some point, just like they did on defense with Alex Austin and Jack Gibbons, like there has to be some consequences for the fact that these guys aren't performing, and you have to try some different things. And I do think because they have Kyle Williams kind of waiting in the wings and Efton Chisholm, this is a little bit different to me than running back, because I do think they kind of have some options.
Yeah, they have more options here.
All right. We talked a lot today. I'm sorry that we didn't get to all the emails and stuff like that. We do have some calls, and if you guys are still waiting, we'll take them now in the last 10 minutes. I apologize. There was a lot to unpack today, and we didn't get to as many of you guys as we wanted to. But Patty is in Agawam. What's up, Patty?
What's up, guys? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, yep. Thanks for holding, Patty. Appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. I did want to get into a comp with Drake, but I'll skip that for next week. But I got to hold on to it. But Alex, you're kind of spot on when it comes to just being patient with quarterbacks and waiting to see what happens in the second half of their second season. But the question I wanted to ask you guys was, I attended 2 practices this summer. I attended the first Saturday practice and the joint practice against Commanders, and I used to think it was funny. You guys would always say, "Did we get fooled by Taekwon?" When he was on this team, and I'm guessing, did we all kind of get fooled by Pop? Because to me, like those 2 practices I went to, he looked like the best skill player on the team. And I'll take the answer off there, guys.
Yeah, Patty, it's a really good question, and it's something that I've thought about a little bit with Pop and with Travion Henderson. Like, these are 2 guys that are speed guys that when the contact was toned down a little bit compared to what it is in a live game setting, they both had great summers, both Pop and Henderson. And the fact that we've gotten into the games and that hasn't translated to the regular season is kind of putting me in a little bit of a mental pretzel. Like, I don't really, especially with Pop, because it's like not a rookie, right? Like, it's a bizarre thing.
Like, there's just, maybe we overrated the kind of fit he was going to be in this offense. To your point, they're seeing a lot of zone. He's not a guy that has a ton of success against zone.
Yeah.
They maybe didn't get the man coverage that they wanted. Like, Pop somewhere could see going somewhere else and having a ton of success.
Yeah.
And you see, obviously, what Tyquan Thornton's doing. So I don't think we got fooled. I just think maybe we didn't look at the full big picture. We didn't see the picture as big as it maybe ultimately was.
So good for Tyquan. Happy for my guy.
Yep.
Good for him. Now, that being said, it's still only 9 catches for 171 yards. He's hit like 3 or 4 really big plays down the field. He's averaging 19 yards a catch.
That's what we thought he was going to be.
Yeah,
he was never supposed to be a volume guy.
He's doing exactly. He's carving out a role for himself in the league, and I'm happy for him. We tried to do Taekwon multiple times, and it just didn't happen for him here. But some of the things that I'm seeing for Taekwon is it's really very similar. Like, he could carve out a role as like a Nelson Aguilar, Philip Dorsett type in the league, and probably have a pretty good career doing that. So good for him. Jude is in Mass, I assume. What's up, Jude? Going once.
Morning, guys. How are you
Hey,
doing?
how's it going?
Good. I wanted to say that first. I definitely agree with you, Evan, where I think that having Kyle on the field more is just the best way to go with Kyle and Stephon Diggs in the slot and Booty. I think that we need that juice, whether or not it's Pop or him. So I definitely agree with that. But my question was, what are you guys thinking about the production in the run game? Like, the EPA per play isn't necessarily all that great, and like our numbers are kind of like sitting around like the 20s. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, it's
I'll take my answer off the air. Thank you.
Yeah, Jude, it's a good question. It's something that has come up a little bit over the last couple of days, is that they haven't traditionally been able to run the ball very well. Like, all of their explosive runs really have come from Drake, and like, he's, I think, their leading rusher right now, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So it's a good question. They haven't been able to run the ball traditionally very well. But I will say, glass half full, a lot of the run actions that they are doing are setting up a lot of really good play action opportunities, and maybe it's worth it to stick with the run game, even if it's not working very well. And so I'm thinking maybe that if they keep on doing this with the play action passing, that it will empty the box a little bit more and teams won't be as focused on the run. I think what they're getting right now from a run game perspective is they're getting a lot of gap penetration and stunting from the defensive lines that they're facing. So they're getting a lot of post-snap movement, and they're stunting and run stunting and penetrating gaps and things like that. And so you only really do that like if you're overplaying the run. Like if that's like a game plan focused thing, is like, we can't let this team run the ball on us. So I do think that there's an element of, on Tuesday when teams are game planning the Patriots offense, I think one of the first things, if not the first thing on the top of the list, is let's make them one-dimensional and turn them into a drop back pass team, kind of like what the Raiders were able to do to them a little bit in week 1. So I wonder how much of that is too, but yeah, they got to run the ball better traditionally without Drake being as much involved. Mark is in Connecticut. What's up, Mark?
Hey guys, thanks for taking my call.
Of course.
Just a quick couple of things there. I was on the post-game show with Paul and Mike, and I believe that those guys had said something to the effect that Kevin Falk, back early in his career, fumbled the ball quite a lot, and they were able to somehow work with somebody on that and get that out of him. And I'm wondering if that somebody might be able, Kevin Falk might be able to help Ramondre out with that. And then the other couple of things is, we need to get Efton Chisholm, Danny Amendola 2.0 on the field. It's time. I'm the biggest advocate for Pop. I wear his jersey every time to the game, but, maybe it's just not good with Drake, because of his size and everything. But I think Chisholm just has a little more twitch, a little more juice in that. And then the last thing is, don't know why we're going to Pop on a 4th and 2. I want to see Diggs on that. Like, that should be Diggs going 4th and 2, got to have it kind of moment there. So appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Mark. What was the first thing you said? He just threw a lot out.
Kevin Falk fixing
Oh,
the
yeah. So
fumbles.
Kevin, is he at LSU still? Kevin Falk?
I don't remember where he is. At
Yeah.
this point.
He was coaching or like helping, advising or whatever for a while. But the one thing
He's actually the New York Giants running backs coach.
Oh, really? He's in the league.
So, dude, he's there. Troy Brown's there. A bunch of those guys are there.
Yeah,
So he's probably not helping Ramondre out.
Yeah. So fair. The one thing I wanted to talk about with the Falk point, though, I remember Kevin Falk used to wear the elbow pads.
Yeah.
So he wore the elbow pads, as I believe that was part of fixing the fumbling issues. And I'm not saying that's going to solve it for Ramondre necessarily, but like, he used to take with the elbow pad, and then he would like wedge the point of the ball into his elbow pad, and that's like what allowed him to like kind of hold and secure the ball a little bit more. So I'm not saying that's the answer. I know a lot of people also talk about like Tiki Barber fixed his fumbling issues by like holding it up on his chest,
high and tight.
Yeah, which maybe like that's an answer. I don't know. I don't know if like where he carries the football is necessarily a solution, but maybe it is. Sean is in Vancouver. What's up, Sean?
Shana Tova. This is the week of the year where we reflected on our sins, and for the Patriots, those sins are the S that gets you beat. Alex, you're right. You can still win the game even if you do the crap that gets you beat. You just can't do it 5 times. Like the last time the Patriots had 5 turnovers in a game was 2008 against the Steelers and lost 33-10. That was a better Patriots team. They finished 11-5. The previous season was the only time a team went undefeated in a 16-game regular season. And that game wasn't even close. No, if New England turned the ball over just 4 times, they still win. They had 5 crap plays that get you beat, and we're in the game with less than a minute left. The Pats also didn't take advantage of bad play. Alex Austin's penalty took away Milton Williams' fumble recovery. Spillane had an interception that gives them first and goal. The next play, Stevenson's second fumble is recovered in the end zone for a touchback. So you're not taking advantage of what the Steelers are giving you. And the Steelers were a bad team on Sunday. They didn't win the game. New England lost it. If the Patriots turn the ball over even once against, one more time than the Bills do, they lose to the Bills. Sunday's game shows that you can still win with the crap that gets you beat if you play that much better than your opponent. But you just can't keep doing it. And then I'll leave you with that.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. Yep, I think we're in lockstep there. All right, we have 1 minute to talk about the Carolina Panthers. We're gonna Christian can talk on Unfiltered. What's your 30-second take on the Carolina Panthers?
I mean, I really hope Christian Gonzalez is back. That's the big thing for me. I think it's Ted McMillan and Will Campbell, right? Let's see. That was the big conversation of draft season. I feel like Panthers are kind of in a similar spot as to the Patriots. Like Bryce Young had that good close to the year last year. You're trying to see, like, is he ultimately the guy? And then if you think he is, if he continues to play well, okay, well, the roster's still not complete, but who around him are we keeping as part of this rebuild?
So Ted's looked really good on film.
He's been good, yeah.
Yeah, he's been good.
Jalen Coker's good, too.
A lot of it, he's hurt, Coker.
Okay.
Ted, a lot of it's translated. He's, his size, his catch radius, but also the yards after the catch and the fluidity at 6'5", 6'4". He looks the part. He looks like it's translated. Now, with that being said, he's the only thing they have in the passing game. He's a one-man show right now in Carolina in the passing game. So if you take him away, I don't really know what else Bryce Young is going to in this game. Bryce Young, my comp for him right now is righty Tua because he keeps throwing the ball to the middle of the field and only the middle of the field. So short throws, middle of the field, take those things away. Really quickly on the Panthers defense, they kind of put Penix in a blender a little bit last week. He wasn't seeing the field very well. They'd used a lot of disguise coverage and post-snap rotation and things like that. If Drake Maye can keep his wits about him in this game, then there's going to be a lot of opportunities for him. But Penix couldn't. They really, Evero, their defensive coordinator, really flustered him and confused him. So that's the key. You got to keep Drake Maye's wits about him, but I think there's going to be opportunities for them to move the ball if he can, stay, avoid the blender, as Vrabel likes to say. So that's your Panthers minute. Sorry we didn't get to more of a Panthers preview for you, but we will surely be talking about the Carolina Panthers in the game on Sunday on Patriots Unfiltered over the next couple of days. So Unfiltered is 4 minutes away, so don't go anywhere. Alex and I will be back next week to talk about the Panthers, to talk about the Buffalo Bills on Sunday Night Football. Big one in Orchard Park for the Patriots in Week 5. We'll see you guys then.
Hey, this is Deuce. Thanks for tuning into the show. If you really want to help us, make sure you like us wherever you get your podcasts, like Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, make sure you follow us on the New England Patriots YouTube channel to see this show and everything else that we do here at the Patriots. Thanks a lot.